Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Intellective Insights. Have you ever wondered how the top 5% of HR teams really streamline their processes? The spoiler alert, it's not about tools. It's not about what are they really kind of bringing into the systems, but it's about how they're doing things. So today, we're going to be talking about that. So I'm your host, Ritesh Talal, founder and CEO here at Intellective. And at Intellective, we specialize in employee experience and knowledge management. And so our tools actually help these HR systems or really large enterprise HR teams optimize and function at their best. So we'll be talking about how are these teams really optimizing their flows? How are they thinking about knowledge, and how are they going to go ahead and make things better for the rest of the organization? So before we get into that, like before we get into how something is being solved for, let's talk about what are the challenges that they're seeing on a day-to-day basis. How are they really addressing those challenges? And that is where we're going to actually kind of get our answers. So we'll be talking about how employees in general. So ever wonder, like, you have your intranet or you have something, or there's an employee in a different country wondering, what is my stock policy, right? What is the ESOP plan? Or how can I sell my stock today? That kind of stuff. And when they have those kind of questions, what happens? So they go in, type into some kind of intranet setup. Now, if you're using something like a SharePoint, you might find all kinds of different documents or different matching things that actually do show up. They may all be current, they may not be current. Most of the times, or more likely than not, they are possibly going to be outdated, or just there's going to be like four of the same things, and then the employee doesn't really know what to do with it. So that's one, right? On the second one is what happens when these employees kind of don't find the exact information that you want. Big one being just employee satisfaction kind of thing, right? Like engagement. They lose interest or trust in the system, in the knowledge that the company actually has. And that kind of causes a lot of churn. That does cause them to open up tickets into the system. And when they do open the tickets in the system, then what happens? Then we got to have some support team answer the same questions again and again. And that kind of leads to the support cost. And the whole idea of getting smart systems like ServiceNow and anything else is to make sure that we are optimizing self-service and we are making sure that our employees are getting the right information at the right time. And lastly, what happens is when we simplify these knowledge processes, the authors, because today, if the authors or let's talk about end users and how they consume this knowledge, right? So most of the times the assumption is people are at a computer. Or they could be, on an iPad or something like that. But is the knowledge optimized for mobile devices? Are we talking about where is most of our population, right? Are they really in, for a client, like are they working in stores and assembly lines or warehouses? Or is most of our employee population in some large corporate office and they're always on a computer? And is the knowledge content, is the information optimized for that particular sort of use case, right? So this is where when employees are going in and they're trying to find this information, they're not finding it exactly what they want. They're not, or it's confusing, or it is something that you cannot traverse. So those are kind of primarily the biggest issues that knowledge teams are facing. Now that's just kind of on the consumption side. Let's talk about authoring. Let's talk about creating content, right? So do we have the right kind of capabilities available for our authors to actually build the right things, or the support personnel to just go ahead and build the knowledge base or build the information that's needed so that when an end user is kind of seeing a similar issue or another user is seeing a similar issue, they can simply just say, me too, and go ahead and just find the information or find the solution that could have just helped them. When people find their own answers, there is a different sense of accomplishment, right? Like, okay, I figured it out. I did not need help. So there's a different psychological factor around that actually kind of comes in. Not just that. What else happens here is the confidence in the HR teams, the confidence in the information or the knowledge within the company internally becomes much more higher, and they are then more likely to engage with the systems that the company kind of puts out, or the systems that the IT teams or the HR teams are actually now kind of launching. Right, your announcements are received better, and every one of those things like that. So that's one of the things that we want to kind of always keep in mind. So given these issues, how are these top performing HR teams really kind of addressing them, or what are they doing different than most companies? Because everybody, I would say, like, so we primarily work in the ServiceNow ecosystem, and so when we do that, one of our things is, okay, everybody has knowledge, everybody has some kind of employee portal, everyone has something where these employees are going in and trying to find information. So what about the top performing companies in terms of engagement, in terms of self-service? What are they doing different compared to anybody else that has these kind of systems in place? And one of the big things that comes down to is governance. Emphasis on quality control, the way I would think about it, right? And also about how easy or hard is it for our internal teams or the HR teams or just the authors in general. It doesn't matter where they are. They could be in different departments. They don't always have to be in the HR side of it. But I would say employee experience more than likely tends to be in sort of the HR domain. So we kind of talk about HR a lot more. But in general, the idea is that we want to make sure that the governance of the content creation is pretty tight. And that is what they really kind of get it down to a science, where they want to make sure that what triggers me having to create new content? What triggers, or let's say, how do we understand if this content is actually something that's going to convert? And when we say convert, is it about, I guess, our end users really finding the answer, reading this content or not? And then the other thing around that is this content accessible across the board, right? Multilingual. Is it auto translated, if that's one of the things, or is it actually meeting our end users where they are? So that's one. So when we really kind of put this kind of governance, we have a checklist of, before we publish something, we're going after and making sure that these pain points or these kind of main, I guess, heavy hitting areas of performance are kind of checked off. So that's another one that where a lot of these teams will make sure that they are having this governance, they're having this checklist before anything actually is getting published. And the other one is this: they are not treating knowledge as just a thing that they have to do. Like, oh yeah, we got to just keep making some content, and this has got to be there just because when somebody goes in and they're not, like employees are not seeing like this empty desert syndrome, like, oh, nobody's here, nothing's here. And so we got to populate with some content. Now, but instead of that, if you look at knowledge, and the top performing HR teams look at knowledge as an asset. They look at that as saying, this is something that is going to pay me dividends. And it does pay you dividends. You have better content. You are going to see the benefits of it on the other side. You're going to see the benefits. They may not be all kind of cash benefits, but they will be benefits in terms of better knowledge equals better employee engagement. Better knowledge equals better self-service. And better knowledge equals better employee satisfaction. And that is what is going to get us into this top performing HR team realm, right? And that's kind of where a lot of these companies and a lot of the teams that we work with, and at Intellective, when we go in and we are deploying our tools like Amaze or Engage, we work with the HR teams to really kind of hone in on these kind of processes and make sure that they are able to really kind of optimize the content delivery, optimize the actual content creation from the get-go. And it's not really an afterthought. Like, it is something that they invest in, and then they reap the benefits of it year over year. So it doesn't stop, in that first time, oh, we're going to see this spike and then it's going to slow down. It really becomes something that they're able to leverage. But like anything else, right? When we have knowledge, we got to nurture it. We got to make sure that it's current. We got to make sure that we keep an eye on it. And that's why with Intellective's Amaze tool, we also have dashboards. The dashboards are going to give you the insights into what is the next knowledge that I do need to create. What is the next, or what is working, what isn't working, what are the people searching for, what are they not finding? And so that is going to simply go ahead and increase the amount of self-service. that you're going to see. And then one of the big things around that, so when we start talking about metrics and measurements and dashboards, what are the other things that the companies or the employers really kind of care about? And that is another thing that the top performing HR teams are always going to keep an eye on. And the thing is this, we always have to measure what matters. And when it comes to knowledge, the measurement is about deflection rate. The measurement is about self-service. The measurement is about employee satisfaction. So when we talk about Amaze by Intellective, where we're building better knowledge, we are talking about how satisfied are our end users with the content that actually kind of showed up. And that shows up in multiple different ways, right? And when we go in and we talk about, let's do a survey, let's go ahead and just kind of get like a quick, happy smiley, sad smiley kind of thing, just so that we can identify, okay, this worked, this didn't work. Thumbs up, thumbs down usually kind of shows up, but because it kind of is hidden somewhere and it's not in the face, you might actually miss the opportunity to just ask for it. So there is another thing, which is just building a culture of feedback. And that is one of the other things that is a trait of a high-performing HR team, which is they're always listening. They're always trying to find out what makes it better for the end users when it comes to the systems, when it comes to the company. And that is how every one of these top performing HR teams that we are working with these days, they are going in and they're going with their eyes wide open in terms of what do we keep our eyes on, right? What is the price here? And how do we keep on getting better and better in terms of content, in terms of conversion, in terms of satisfaction? And that is what they're actually doing. So just to kind of wrap up in terms of what is the main things that we should keep an eye on. So big one is governance. The second one is around metrics. You got to measure what matters. And the last one that I would actually kind of just on a very high level make it is around trying to find out the employee satisfaction bit. And that is where we'll actually know exactly what is going on and how are we going to keep on making these things. So continuous improvement or making sure that this is looked at as an investment and not as a chore. And so this is how the high-performing HR teams are really kind of staying on top of what they need to do when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to just employee engagement and everything else that kind of follows along with it. So that, my friends, is the episode for today. Next week, we'll be diving deeper into a lot more employee experience topics. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of do differently on this particular, episode would be to say, okay, let's open it up to the audience. I would really want you to go in to talk about or comment about what is it that you're thinking about? What are the questions that you have in terms of how do I do this better? Or how can we solve this? And we have office hours that actually kind of go on every Friday as well. And we can always answer those questions there, or I will be going ahead and just answering those questions right here on in the chat as well. So let's, please chime in, right? And let us know exactly what are you looking for? What are the things that you're struggling with? And we'll be able to dive so much deeper. And having worked with companies just all around the world and companies of all sizes, massive companies, starting from like 5,000 employees to about 500,000 employees or 400,000 employees. So, definitely, the entire gamut of things. We've seen it all in terms of when it comes to employee experience, when it comes to employee engagement, when it comes to user experience or design. So if there's anything that you're wondering about, we want to bring that to this show. We want to answer those questions. I want to talk about that. And I want to go ahead and give as much value as possible. So definitely I would invite you to go ahead and send in your comments and thoughts and questions. And until next time, I will see you. I'm your host, Ritesh Dalal, here at Intellective. Thank you.